Welcome back, everyone, to the next installment of The Letter. Kylie's here, and boy, are we excited to hang out with her? Sure we are. Speak of the devil, and she shall appear. Bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, Kylie grins up at me as soon as I open the bedroom door. She swings the backpack she's clutching, hitting my leg in a show of impatience and looking entirely unapologetic for it.
Did you just wake up? Oh, tell me you forgot. It's our playdate today.
I doubt I'd forget. Kylie's visits are a frequent enough thing that they found a way into my schedule. They're supposed to be visits to her godmother. But we can't pick who a child gets along with. As long as I'm not busy, her father can drop her off for the day. Which is all well and good for me if it makes Suarez focus on work I've given him. Besides, she's a bright child, tolerable. Kid's got a good head on her shoulders and can get pretty mature for her age at times. Of course, they have to thank me for that. Her parents can take partial credit, but Hana and I have been there for this kid since she was just a small babe. Why I can still remember the first time I saw her. It was during her baptism. The only reason I was there was to accompany Hana, who was to be named godmother. She was such a tiny thing, not even a year old, and swaddled in her mother's arm in white cloth. It was the first time I really saw an infant up close enough to hold one at least. It had been terrifying to be given a little child to carry after the whole water ceremony. I've never done so before that, to hold a tiny life in my arms. I could have just dropped her on her head, and this little tyke before me would have stopped existing then and there. But the child just smiled at me, babbling nonsensical words as children do, and clinging to me even as I tried to hand her off to Hana. She had thought it hilarious and adorable. My suit had been a mess, and I was nearly an anxious wreck by the time I handed her back to her mother. Yet it was pleasant, too.
Of course I didn't, you little rugrat. I just had to take care of something before you arrived.
Really? Well, I guess that's fine. As long as he told me for work like last time.
Really? Now why don't we go back down and have breakfast in the parlor?
I already ate at home. Papa made one of his tortilla de patatas. He wouldn't let me leave until I finished every bite.
Ah, the Suarez's infamous tortilla de patatas. Those things are a hazard. You could probably use one to bludgeon someone into submission with how huge they are. It's a miracle Kylie can still be so energetic. I had trouble staying awake the first time I had one. Speaking of staying awake.
Well, I need some coffee in me at the very least. But if you'd like, you can jump straight to dessert.
Yes, dessert please.
It's easy enough to manage Kylie with the promise of sweets, thankfully. The hard part is managing her before she gets the sweets, because I nearly have a heart attack when the kid races down the stairs. Just the thought of her slipping and breaking her neck is enough to make me rush down after her.
Slow down, the food isn't going anywhere.
The food is going somewhere. In my tummy.
Oh, she's good.
Jesus fucking Christ. Children.
But I thought he tried correcting himself when he swore in front of her that other time. With a shake of my head, I usher Kylie towards the parlor and order a maid to bring food for us. Whatever breakfast there is, along with a cup of coffee for me and an ice cream for Kylie. But I can't leave the kid alone for too long, unless I want to let her turn the other room into a slaughter ground. True to my expectations, I've only left Kylie alone for a few minutes, but she's already made herself comfortable. The stuff from her backpack has been left scattered across the room, from coloring books and crayons to toys. And even a doll that has the potential to be spooky. We'll find out later, maybe. She's well equipped to amuse herself with no trouble, though I could certainly breathe a little easier if she won't bring her doll along every time she visits. Narcissa, or Sissa, is a creepy little bugger. It doesn't help when Kylie left her during one. Finding the thing at the bottom of the stairs staring up at me at 3 o'clock in the fucking morning is a memory that won't be leaving me anytime soon. That's amazing. Even now it stares at me from where it's seated. I'm wholly tempted to just throw the thing into the fireplace and banish it from whence it came. I can buy her a prettier doll, a better toy. I will break it, find a way to get rid of it if it wasn't from Hana, and if only Kylie isn't so attached to it. The thing is some antique doll she found for the brat's 6th birthday, one of a kind. My darling Hana loves her so. And Kylie does try to be a good goddaughter, but she just can't keep her interest along with the wife. It's not something that Hana does wrong on her part. She does try so very, very hard. It's just that she doesn't quite know how to really handle children. She'd never been around other children when she was young, surrounded by protective adults who catered to her every whim and worried for her safety every minute. How ironic, though, Luke is the better person with kids. When she isn't able to keep up with Kylie, her first instinct is to be strict. Impose rules on the child, treat her as if she is made of spun glass, like every movement might break her. I at least have some idea from being around street kids. I know the games they've played and how they think. I know that scraps and skin knees are all part of childhood. Even with how I grew up, I had time to be a child and not some sheltered heiress. With Kylie? As behaved as she can be, with her toys and her books and arts, she has to use up all her energy somehow. To run around the playground and make a mess in the mud, or to even just fake wrestle for a short while. Let her be a child when she wants, I'll say. If it becomes too much, just bribe her with sweets, or ship her back to her papa. Problem solved. Unfortunately, Hannah isn't quite up for those sorts of things most of the time, thinking it'll spoil the child. It turns a whole playdate awkward every time. Taking the last seat left, I pluck one of her coloring books on the table to see it filled with dinosaurs. You know what? Kylie's got good taste. Not exactly what I expect to see for a little girl, but doesn't hurt anyone. If she wants to play with dolls and cars, or dolls with their cars, what do I care? She once put dolls' tutus on model cars, even.
Oh, this is a new one. The last one you had was filled with horses, wasn't it?
Those were ponies, Tio. They're much cuter than horses.
Yeah, here's a fun fact that I didn't learn until like a few years ago, and I don't even know how many people know this. Ponies are not baby horses. Like, ponies are something else.
We went to a dinosaur zoo, and it was awesome! Dinosaurs are my favorite.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know which one that is.
I have no idea what that is, but it must be something. I'm only familiar with the T-Rex myself.
Yeah, they found, fossils of its claws. They're really long. They think the whole theory might be a bazillion meters tall, even bigger than a T-Rex. Cisa says it'll be big enough to eat all my classmates.
Cisa tells me to burn things. She only laughs as I scrunch up my nose and grimace. Yeah, just mentioning that damn doll. That's amazing.
Takako says you're making a really funny face.
Taka who?
Takako, a friend I made.
But she says I'm making a funny face? Like now? Yeah. Oh, that's what that was. That's what that was. Takako was the ghost, but how would that make sense? That would imply that Kylie saw the letter. But Kylie was possessed twice. I don't know. I have to stop and look around, expecting one of the help to be there. Boom, boom. The child does have a way with befriending just about anyone, as long as she puts her mind to it. Yet the two of us are completely alone. Thankfully, she only finds my disturbed look as another funny, grown-up expression. That might be a lot more problematic than whether she plays with dolls or cars, though. Both the thoughts of Cisa giving Kylie ideas, and one of the said ideas being massacre by dinosaur. Something I probably need to bring up with her father, aside from work. But beyond murderous dinosaurs, creepy dolls, and imaginary friends, I find no trouble with Kylie. She's as energetic and precocious as any tyke her age can be. So, imaginary friend or spooky ghost playing the role? You decide! She's an angel if she can get comfy and settled in after getting her sweets. Oh my goodness! We tuck into our waffles as soon as food is brought in. Our waffles, because she wanted her own plate to go with the ice cream as soon as she saw mine. A fresh plate of berries is brought in as well, which really goes great with the rest of this feast, as Kylie puts it. And if I indulge in the sweetness, I have a cup of black coffee to pair it off with. With our bellies full, Kylie grows content with just scribbling on a scrap of paper and calmly chatting about her week. She talks of her older brother Rowan and their parents, how they plan to go to the Bloxland in Berkshire for the winter holidays. Or Berkshire. She mentions Miss Pink, Rebecca, which I listened to with half an ear. So we already met Rebecca, so I guess we're not getting beamed on the head. Our initial meeting had been a mess, but I can't quite find myself to listen to stories about her teacher wholeheartedly, the phantom sting in my hand still itching. Yeah, she bit his damn hand. She talks of the sad man in the park, and Zach, and of her new friend who likes to play hide and seek when she's not sniffing in the loo. Sniffling? When finally she finds nothing new to talk about, she goes back to her drawings. She's gonna draw the ghost. It's a little on the nose, but like, it's coming, come on. That'll change as soon as her stomach settles, of course, the calm before the storm. Because behaved as she is right now, I can feel the curiosity just radiating off her. There's a restlessness buzzing under her skin and a question on the tip of her tongue, as they often are with children her age. But for now, I can take this piece with no complaint for however long it stays. I have fun with the crayons as well, at the child's insistence, even if I can't really draw. With Kylie using the black crayon, which she could draw spooky ghosts with, that leaves me with the blue one. I absent-mindedly start to draw a puppy to the best of my abilities. It's as I attempt to give the doodle dogs another eye that Kylie breaks her silence.
Tio? Where did Tia go? I saw them leave when I got here. Tia didn't look so good.
I've been expecting a lot of different questions. The kid always has a whole bunch of them ready for me, but I can only sigh when she posed this particular one.
She's just going to the doctor's for a checkup.
And as kids go, there are follow-up questions.
And you didn't go with her?
Well, you were going to be here, sweetie, so I had to stay behind.
So she's all alone? At the hospital?
Oh, no, of course not. Tia has Johannes and her maid and a guard. She's got plenty of company.
Yeah, but you're not with her.
If I didn't know any better, I'd say the kid is trying to make me feel guilty. Though I don't know if the bitter taste in my mouth is that or something else entirely. I really don't have time to process what the emotion is as the brat opens her mouth again.
You should have gone with her to the hospital. Hospitals are scary, you know.
Exactly why I didn't go. I don't like hospitals, Kylie. That's all there is to it.
That's not going to score points with her.
So you're not angry at Tia?
Why would I be angry at her? It isn't her fault she got sick.
I heard you and Tia are fighting. I heard that you might not be together anymore.
Who said that? I have to stop her there. Sure, it's easy for people to jump to conclusions and presume that we might be fighting, no thanks to Rochelle, but it's not common knowledge that things have actually gone sour, and to put it in her terms, that we might not be together anymore.
Oh, well, where did you hear this from?
Takako, guaranteed.
I heard it from a nice maid lady.
Okay, alright, close enough, housekeeper. But why can Kylie see her? That's my problem.
But that's still no excuse. Not when she's sick.
I mean, she could just mean a regular maid, but like,
She needs someone to hold her hand, and bring her soup, and make her drink medicine.
I'm livid. Livid that one of my employees might gossip, and to a child of all people. Who says such upsetting things to a child? But my anger dies out when Kylie starts to tear up. She holds it back in an effort to not seem so childish, I assume. Though I am honestly confused as to why such news would upset her so.
Oh, no. Look, Kylie, there's no need to cry.
I'm not going to cry.
Are you sure? You've got no reason to cry. Even if Hana and I won't be together anymore, you can still visit me and I can still visit you.
That's not the problem. Why don't you and Tia love each other anymore?
I still love her, Munchkin, and I'd like to think your Tia still does too.
Isn't that the truth? I love her. I'm just total shite at showing it. And a small part of me screams that I was not worthy to be her husband in the first place, no matter how hard I deny it. Perhaps in another time, another place, another me, I would have confessed that the whole world is nothing compared to her.
But why are you two fighting? You grown-ups are so stupid sometimes.
Why? Because I'm a prat, probably. Motioning for her to come closer, I wrap my arms around and rub her back in an attempt to comfort the child. Only when I feel her tears soak into my jacket that I realize that there might be something else to her worries. I've heard Suarez is not getting along too well with his wife as of late because of how busy he is with work. Really, I was wholly tempted to just brush her question off and say it's a grown-up thing. I could content myself in pretending that this isn't happening. But it seems like she needs to hear this. That just makes it all the more painful to try and explain this because I had to explain it not only for Kylie, but also for myself.
Sometimes, people fall out of love. Or they think they've fallen out of love and need time apart. It's not necessarily a bad thing. They might be angry at each other, or they might feel sad. They need time for themselves to think about each other, to know if there is still love. Maybe they'll be back together again. Or maybe it's better for both of them to move on, instead of staying together and hurting each other pretending they still love each other.
There is nothing final, but here we are, at a crossroads where the wrong step might end in heartbreak. Hana thinks we need some time apart, but we aren't done just yet.
But yes, grown-ups can be rather stupid.
You're still gonna be my friend, no matter what, Tio?
Of course, my life would be less exciting without a little brat like you running around and making a mess of it. And you better stay my friend, even when I get all old and wrinkly.
Kylie's shoulders shakes in laughter as she pulls away and gives me a toothy grin.
You're already old.
Ooh, low blow, Kylie. I mean, I know that kids have a very different perception of age, but ooh.
But don't worry. When you die, I'll burn you and put you in a jar so I can keep you forever. Just like they did with Abuelo.
I get where she's going, not the thing to say. My thoughts come to a grinding halt at her words, yet she goes on as if she hasn't just said such an odd thing. Why, it almost seems like the tyke is looking forward to my funeral. As if there is no confused expression on my face, she pulls me back to our drawings, commenting on the state of my weird dog. Okay, that was weird.
I think your puppy would look better magenta.
Okay. I don't think I could spend any more time with Kylie considering how high-strung I feel. So it is a good thing that Suarez came for her as soon as I've called. Though it is earlier than the agreed-upon time, he voices no complaint. The bastard even has a look of relief as soon as they left. Or at least I interpret it as such from where I've stood by one of the windows, not bothering to step out and greet the man. No doubt he still doesn't trust me around his spawn. Well, he has every right to be suspicious of me. I am a dangerous man after all. But to my chagrin, that leaves me with the rest of the day with nothing to do. Well, aside from picking up the mess Kylie left scattered about in the parlor, to my immense relief, she remembered to take her doll home with her this time. But the same cannot be said of the crayons and papers littered here and there. But what did Kylie draw? First things first, I snatch my own doodle off the table and rip it to shreds, leaving no hope that it will see the light of day. The rest of the drawings, all Kylie's, remain unharmed as I collect the lot. Though they have been stacked neatly on the table before, they must have been blown about when I saw Kylie off. And there are plenty of them. From cats and cakes to colorful rainbows and gardens. The child managed to make a lot during her morning here. There is one more that I have to fish out of the fireplace where it landed. Ah, yeah? Expecting to see another one of Kylie's masterpieces, I am instead greeted with something a bit more concerning. Boom. Nailed it. Takako's a spooky ghost! We didn't know earlier in the game, but it's confirmed now! But that's eerie, because that implies that, like, she saw the ghost hanging out with us. There, and like, what are you using the black crayon for, right? There is me, and there is Kylie, the two of us, side by side and smiling as our stick figure selves stand in a nondescript field. That much I can ascertain without looking at the labels below the doodle's feet. But a third figure stands next to me in the drawing. A woman, with her face hidden behind a curtain of black. And Kylie sees that and is not afraid, despite clearly seeing the blood and everything. Takako, the writing under her supplies. Also... Look at that. Roiji Biv. Kylie got the rainbow right. Well done.
Takako says you're making a really funny face.
Yeah, she's just chatting it up with Kylie. How is Kylie interacting with the ghost? I don't get it. She's been possessed before, kind of, I think. How is this happening? Also, is her name Takako? Is that an old school European name? I wouldn't have thought.
Takahu?
Takako, a friend I made.
The hairs on the back of my neck stand on end, and I feel a chill go down my spine. A breath. That isn't mine. A breath that isn't yours. Hey. Did you hear it? I thought I... Yeah, a little bit. A little whisper. That has me turning around, expecting, hoping to see someone, anyone. But nothing. And that's when I hear it. Laughter. Sweet and merry laughter ringing from the ballroom. Thinking about it has my cheeks burning and my blood running hot. It's as if I'm being mocked. As I stomp towards the door, I have to stop myself from shouting up a storm. I expect to see some of the help dallying about, idle from their duties. Perhaps they thought they could slack off on their duties without the head butler around and with my preoccupation with Kylie. Well, they had another thing coming. But again, nothing. Nothing from what I can see with a cursory glance, at the very least. I roam around, looking for near impossible hiding places, and still, I am all alone. Yet I can still hear the laughter. That accursed laughter echoing about in the room, in my head.
Who's there? Show yourselves and show some respect to the master of the house!
Cold uneasiness, I guess, settles into my stomach when no one answers. I stumble on my own 2 feet, feeling a wave of nausea come from nowhere. I have to put a hand against the wall to stay upright when the world shifts and pain explodes from behind my eyes. It takes every ounce of my self-control not to heave then and there. The only thing my pride allowed me to do then is to close my eyes and attempt to alleviate some of the pain. Vague, unfamiliar images, dare I say memories not mine, flash in my head, unbidden and unwelcome. Like a strong hammer strike to the head, threatening to crack my skull and split it in two. Whatever emotions they hold are muted. I'm nothing but a spectator. Still, its weight feels palpable. Though it doesn't take long for these sensations to get into my head, through my eyes and my ears, it creeps and buzzes in the spaces between. One after the other, they come at me. An unending flood that threatens to sweep me away for what feels like an eternity. Each one a show of both joy and suffering for those who have called this mansion their home. Each new scene is like a hammer to the head, threatening to... Are you freaking kidding? I feel a part of these, like I have lived through them, though I know that is not possible. All their anger burns through me, that much is evident, but the pain more so. And above all of it are the whispers. The voices calling, luring, until one image emerges in vivid contrast with the others. When there's a shout of joy, my eyes snap open, looking for the culprit. That's when the whole room just changes. Everything is the same, yet everything isn't. Aha, aha! There are people everywhere, laughing and dancing. I should be concerned about them, but my mind finds it easy to dismiss them as they fade in and out from nothingness. Instead, I find my concentration drawn to a man and a woman, though one can only call them a lord and a lady, going by their clothes. And oh, just see how happy the couple looks. Though the man's eyes are eerily blank, like he's not all there. His face is familiar, though. In fact, they both are. But I can't quite place why. The two make for a pretty picture as they dance in the center of the ballroom. Even the phantom crowd's attention stays on them. It reminds me so much of Hannah and I, and me, during the early days of our marriage. The honeymoon years, they call it. Yeah, but who's the woman on the left? A jealous house servant, you know? We were happy then, too. All smiles and our sunshine, even with the normal dreary weather. Younger, we had less to worry about. Or at least thought that way. I wished we could go on that way even with all that I did and had to do. But life has a way of catching up. There was work to be done. Although we had to stay the loving, perfect couple in public, I could not afford to look so weak. To appear tied down to someone else, to those who knew who I really am. I had to harden my heart when I have business, but it hadn't always been so easy to just switch that part of me on and off. I should be concerned about their intrusion, too. Ask what in bloody hell they are doing in my house, throwing a party as if they own the place. Ask myself how the fuck I didn't notice what was going on before when the parlor and the foyer are both only a few doors away. There's a horrid feeling of envy. And though I have long accepted that I am a jealous person by nature, I have never felt such a strong feeling of envy as I have now. They were happy with each other, these people, but Hannah and I... Envy turned into anger. Anger for something I could not have. But I have the feeling that yelling and screaming at them won't do much of anything anyway. None of the others have given me notice. I realize that this might not even be real. It dawns on me that these two are the people from the paintings, the ones all over the mansion. Which makes sense. I don't think I'm imaginative enough to make all this up on my own. This must be a dream. Or a really horrible high. Just then I can feel eyes on me as I contemplate the absurdity of the situation, yet I find difficulty in trying to tear my eyes away from the two dancing. I manage, and I regret looking away. She's just right here. And that's a really creepy image. The woman from the gardens stands beside me. I can hear her rattling breath, menacing and chilling. Everything in me screams to run. But something pins me to the spot as she just looks at me, watching and waiting. The clamor of their voices fills the ballroom. Although they say such welcoming words, I do not feel comforted by the madness I'm experiencing. Their joyous voices turn sinister and foreboding to my ears. The chorus of people that shouldn't exist, threatens to overwhelm me, drown me even as I stand on dry land. The music still plays as the Phantom Quartet continues while I stand here, vulnerable and afraid, but the dance has already ended. And I'm afraid that I might just be tonight's entertainment. Attention is all well and good until bollocks like this goes down. These phantom people watch me, thousands of eyes scrutinizing, though they cheer for my return, cajole me to dance and join the merriment. There are eager hands all over, pulling me in every direction, but they do not move me enough to remove me from the woman's gaze.
Listen. Can you not hear them as they welcome you home? Your kind, our kind. You're one of us, my love. We are bonded by the blood we share.
If I thought the voices were overwhelming before, it is nothing compared to how they are now. You know, this raises a question. Hana was the one who really pushed for this mansion. But why? How does that make sense? Shouldn't the draw have been to Luke himself? This is strange to me. Their voices are loud, speaking in unison and echoing ever on in the spaces of my head. They welcome me back as if I've always belonged, as if I was meant to be here in the first place. They call me all these titles and names that do not belong to me, and that man's face, the one with the empty eyes, flashes again before me. Once, fleetingly, like a new memory having burned itself in my mind. I have to struggle for air when I come back to myself after. Don't you understand? You were always the caretaker.
I'm not. This isn't...
The welcomes turn into screams at my protest, pained and desperate pleas for my help, telling me that it is my duty to stay, telling me that I belong among them, to them. Gentle touches turn near threatening, the warning scratches and the baring of teeth by predators before they truly maim someone. My mouth goes dry as I struggle to speak some sense in this hallucinatory madness, but I don't get the chance as they drown out my voice.
Our Lord, my Prince.
At her words, there is a compulsion to stay. Though my heart races in my chest, the fear I should be experiencing refuses to register in my head. Mind and body war with each other, nearly tearing me in two.
Oh, you finally returned to us.
The compulsion to walk into her arms is strong. Whispers in my head tell me to go to her. They say that she is safety. She is home and heart.
We have been waiting for so long.
But repulsed at these thoughts, I wrench away and turn with a small gasp. Without hesitation, I start to make a run for it. I nearly falter when an angry shriek pierces the air, inhumane and monstrous. I don't dare look back, I just run. I didn't care if this is a drug-induced hallucination or not. Just run. Out of the ballroom, and out of the parlor. It's only then that I bother to look back, hoping and praying to the god I scorn that it did not pursue me. I would have run all the way out of the mansion, too, if only someone didn't get in my way. I collide with a body much larger than mine, and fall back to the ground, head spinning as I look up at the stained glass. A body much larger than yours. I don't know who this is going to be. Turning my head to the side replaces the colorful sight with a pair of shiny black shoes. Is it Johannes? Is he much larger? Fatigue fills every inch of my being then, making me refuse to get up. Meanwhile, a familiar head of ginger hair, okay, looks down at me in bemusement.
You really must look where you're going if you insist on running about. Do tell, where is the fire?
Oh, thank God you're here.
I do hope you don't have a concussion. Can you count backwards from 15 to 1 for me?
Oh, fuck off, you wanker. Just let me up.
He snapped back into it real quick.
I do not think insulting me if you do have a concussion is a smart decision. But no, really. 15 to 1.
That woman, she was here. I told you to keep an eye out for her.
The other man offers an arm and pulls me up to my feet then. But before I can storm off and pull him to the ballroom, he anchors me down with one hand on my shoulder and the other touching the back of my head.
No bruising or bump. That still does not mean that you don't have a concussion. If you are too lazy to count backwards, can you tell me your full name? Where are you currently?
What a freaking pro. If you're too lazy.
We don't have Lucille Mitchell Wright. And this is the Ermengarde bloody fucking foyer.
Lucille Mitchell Wright. What a freaking pro.
But we don't have time for this.
You must make and have the time to make sure you are not broken in the head. I have already sent security to scour the whole house when I saw you running out of the parlor, Dummkopf. If the woman is here, they will have her. You will only be slowing them down if you plan to interfere.
When he points that out, I realize that there are guards starting to filter into the house as we speak, with some already searching the nearby rooms. Armed and uniformed men go about in pairs, making it so that the house is in a flurry of activity. He lets go of me then, with the knowledge that I'm not going to keel over anytime soon.
I was hoping that you would be tired from dealing with the young miss on my return. Instead, you come running and hit your head. Such a troublesome boy. Shall I be carrying you to bed, too?
I can manage just fine on my own. Though I don't see how I can sleep until that woman is caught.
It'll be easier to keep you safe in your quarters. This is twice we've known the woman to break in. I think we can safely presume that you hold her interest.
He says it as a matter of fact in a tone... What? He says it as... I guess as a matter of fact, that's a noun? Whatever. In a tone that brooks no argument. Not like I'll argue it if it means I'm kept safe. The two of us hurry upstairs, though we remain watchful and wary of any potential threats to my person. We make it to the master bedroom without any trouble, though, and two of the security are left outside the door. No problems at all. Not until we get inside. Johannes' eyes scan the room wildly, a look of dread in his usually stoic face. And I don't understand for a moment. Looking around the bedroom, it's empty. So this is what happened. Hannah disappeared, so the ghost just grabbed her, I guess? But then I realize...
Where's Hannah? She came home with you from the hospital, didn't she?
And if Johannes breaks composure, that's bad.
She's supposed to be here. I sent one of the maids to accompany her here, to let her rest.
I feel the color drain from my face when he raises a hand to stop me from charging out there.
Stay.
I'm not staying in here while Hannah stays out there.
One of the guards will find her and bring her here.
And what if they don't? What if that woman gets to her first? What if she already has her?
That's not possible.
You can't promise that.
There's no second thought as I reach under my side of the bed and pull out one of my knives. I have no doubt that the other man can take me on if we are both unarmed. But with this, I can even the field, or at least deter him from escalating the situation and risk hurting either of us.
I'm going out there to look for Hannah. And you're either with me or you aren't. I'm not risking Hannah, and I'm not leaving her alone.
Still, like a stubborn mule, he refuses to budge from the door. There's a withering look on him that I try to match. One that somehow I am losing fast to, even with him not saying a word yet.
Can you see yourself in the mirror right now? You are in no proper state to go looking for anyone. If it will make you happy, I will do the looking.
There you go. That's how we got to this point.
But please, and don't make me repeat this, stay. Where it's safe, where security can find you. We already have one person to be worried about. Please don't add another one to it.
Perhaps it is his tone. In spite of his general disdain for virtually everything that has to do with me, I'd like to think that over the years he has grown to care for Hannah, at least. Much as I loathe to admit this, I trust him with her safety over any servant of this house. So, an acquiesce.
You have 2 hours, Shirokin. I don't think it'll take that long to find one missing woman in this house. 2 hours. Any more than that, and I'm going out there.
Of course.
Despite his words, he lingers. If I didn't know any better, I'd say he wants to make sure I get in that damn bed and sleep before he turns away from me. What am I, a child? Watching me and treating me like one? There's the reason why we will never get along.
Well, what are you waiting for?
And the knife?
The knife stays.
Very well.
Only then does he seem to get the hint. With a nod, he leaves, locks and closes the door behind him. For a moment, I still hear his voice while he gives the guards outside firm instructions, then a hush as soon as he departs and his footsteps fade away. One that doesn't quite last. As quickly as the silence settles, lightning flashes across the sky, followed immediately by the loud boom of thunder. And that wanker strikes so dangerously close that I can feel the electricity in the air. The power goes out not a second later, and I feel as if I'm being mocked by whatever greater power there is. All is deathly still for a moment, but soon the rain starts once again. Far heavier than the light drizzle from this morning, its pitter-patter hitting hard against this place's roof. Despite the noise, I find myself drawn to my bed, exhausted, hoping for a little nap. I'm safe here. Hannah will be safe too. Shirokin will find her, and when I wake, she'll be here. It does not take long. Once my head hits the pillow, in a matter of minutes, darkness claims me. We're still reading this like it's our thoughts, even though it's just what's happening. Bringing with it laughter and whispers of a twisted love from a time long gone. Well, looks like we're coming to a head, aren't we? But, for now, it is time to stop the installment. Well, we certainly made a lot of progress today, didn't we? The hauntings have gotten worse, the ghost more demanding, and now Hannah's missing, and it will not be long before we find all of our heroes in the front foyer of our house, pissing us right off and leading to a dramatic final encounter. Ooh, I just can't wait. Until next time, everyone.